Is the West, is it a lens or a mirror that Ukraine reflects what the West is looking for, the West's own crises there?
A mirror, interesting metaphor.
When we were talking before, you
Russia certainly exploits our crises in many ways. Our economic weakness.
Is that exploitation, is that something special in Ukraine, or has that always been there, would you say?
Well, it's been a kind of modus operandi that Russia's been developing for almost a decade now. It exploits our economic weakness, it exploits our ways of thinking as well. You know, Russia today's motto is question more. It's not, love Russia. It's directed at Western audiences and their kind of mistrust of traditional authorities, conspiracy
So how does questioning help Russia?
Relativism, that kind of thing.
How does questioning help Russia then, specifically?
Well, Russia nudges. It doesn't create, but it nudges every kind of anti-establishment movement. Nationalisms against nation states, far right, far left, crazy conspiracy theory guys. Anything that undermines the kind of conventional wisdom in European states,
well, so it's really
is useful for Russia.
So the division helps them anywhere.
Yeah, division, weakness.
And to what extent is that successful in Ukraine? I mean, you historically have many divisions based on religion or based on language, based on ethnic group in Ukraine. The majority are ethnically Ukrainian. Do you think Ukraine is more divided now after these events, or less, or how do you see that situation?
Well, Ukraine will have a completely different situation, where obviously, with the great exception of Crimea and Donbass, you have a more united country after the Russian incursion. Putin is a Ukrainian nation builder in many ways. We don't know how long it is or how deep it goes, but all the polls show that Ukraine is more mobilised, more patriotic, more in favour of resolute defence of national borders, even more pro-European.
Was there much of a solidified national identity before this crisis? Has that changed?
Well, all of these are kind of state things, but yeah, in identity terms, you see it everywhere. The way that the flag, the national colours have been universalised and kind of actually taken over from the kind of old nationalists and given new, more Catholic meaning. The yellow and blue on fences, on street signs, on girls' fingernails. It's become a kind of civic symbol rather than just a political one.
Well, you've been coming to Ukraine for a while. Had you seen that before? Is there a change in the
No,
use of the
that's
Ukraine
new.
flag?
I first came here when it was Soviet Ukraine, and there was no food. That changed actually relatively early, but that kind of new civic patriotism is a phenomenon of 2014. It's brand new.
And is there something that can spring from that? Is that good fertilizer for future growth? What could come from that civic nationalism?
Well, good question. Because it may be a kind of firefly short-term thing. Civic nationalisms need a successful CVAs city, a project, economic revival, doing the hard work of qualifying for Europe, EU, Europe. All of those kind of things are possible and will be very difficult under so much Russian pressure. But if Ukraine does the hard work and gets the difficult work of transforming society done, then they'll have a lot to be proud of.
Well, some of it seems to be cynicism versus optimism, because this most recent revolution, or Maidan, was focused on something optimistic, trying to create something new, where further east and other post-Soviet states, often they're concerned about, they say this is impossible, it doesn't get better through protests, it gets better through incremental reform or working within systems, and Russia is always saying this can't work out or that can't get there. So it seems like it's beyond just Ukraine in the post-Soviet state. The extent to which Ukraine is successful is also a model for other states. I don't know. Do you think that applies? Do you think people are watching in Belarus or Central Asia or even Russia to see what happens?
Yeah, of course they are. Both types of people are watching. Would-be reformers and existing autocrats, drawing opposite lessons. That's why Russia always wants these kind of attempts to fail. The elections today are a kind of mixture of pessimism and optimism. On the one hand, you've got the survival of the old regime and the old way of doing things, but on the other hand, you've got a lot of new faces coming into Parliament. So over the next, however long that Parliament lasts, probably not its full term, it's going to be a battle between values and mood. pessimism versus optimism.
All right, pessimism versus optimism. I think
Yeah.
that's a great note to end on. Thank you so much.
Okay. May the optimist win.
May the odds be forever in their favor.
Yeah.